The forest loomed like a cathedral of shadows as Olivia Reed's sedan crawled down a forgotten road, its tires whispering over gravel and moss. When the last turn revealed the cabin, she froze. It stood at the forest's edge like a sentinel, weathered, defiant, its windows dark with secrets. She hadn't seen it since childhood, when her grandmother, Eleanor Reed, barred everyone from entering and spoke of it only in riddles. Now, years later, with Eleanor gone and her will naming Olivia sole heir, the forbidden place was hers. Pregnant and exhausted from the 5-hour drive, she sat behind the wheel, one hand on her rounded belly, the other gripping the key. An antique black iron thing that looked forged for a castle. The autumn air smelled of pine and rain-soaked earth, humming faintly with energy. The cabin waited, silent and unwelcoming, as if aware she carried something more than grief. When she stepped onto the porch, the boards groaned beneath her weight. The key turned easily, too easily, as if someone had been expecting her. Inside, sunlight filtered through torn curtains, slicing the dust into golden haze. Every wall was covered, maps pinned corner to corner, journals stacked high, artifacts displayed like a private museum. Strange glass vials, carved stones, preserved roots. In the center, a wooden box sat on the table, her name etched into the lid. "What were you hiding, Grandma?" she whispered. Inside the box lay a letter and a silver locket. "My dear Olivia," it read in Eleanor's flowing hand, "what I've guarded must now become yours. The locket is the first key. Trust the blood in your veins. It will guide you." Olivia turned the locket open. No photograph, only a tiny, ornate key that shimmered in the light. Outside, the wind rose suddenly, rattling the window panes. Somewhere in the woods a branch cracked, sharp and close. And for the first time, Olivia wondered if her grandmother had ever been alone out here. The morning light made the cabin look less haunted, but no less wrong. What Olivia had taken for clutter was precision. Eleanor's journals weren't the ramblings of a recluse. They were field notes, data, coordinates, timestamps. One page mentioned temporal distortions. Another detailed magnetic fluctuations around the property. Olivia brushed her fingertips over a map that marked her own county with a crimson circle. Whatever her grandmother had studied here, she had done it for decades. She found a notebook labeled 1984 Ongoing. Locked shut with a brass clasp, the tiny key from the locket fit perfectly into. Inside were lines of indecipherable symbols, geometric and deliberate, like an ancient language. Olivia spent the day exploring every inch of the cabin. In the kitchen, canned food was freshly stocked. A pot sat clean on the stove, as if waiting to be used. In the main room, dust coated everything, except for the table, where faint fingerprints marked the surface. By nightfall, the silence pressed against her like a weight. Then came the sound, tap, tap, tap. It echoed faintly, rhythmic from beneath the floorboards. She knelt, flashlight trembling, and pried one loose. Inside the cavity lay a metal box, filled with small glass vials labeled with dates and coordinates. Some stretched back 30 years. The last one was recent, only 2 months old. Next to them lay a dusty digital recorder. She plugged it in, and a distorted voice crackled through. September 15th. The phenomenon repeats. Lunar cycle confirmed. The barrier weakens. If they breach it without proper preparation... The voice cut out abruptly. Olivia sat frozen, staring into the darkness beneath her. The only thing louder than her heartbeat was the realization blooming in her mind. This was no eccentric hobby. Eleanor hadn't been running from madness. She'd been guarding something alive beneath the surface of the world. When Olivia checked her phone, the recording's next phase date sent a chill through her bones. April 26th, her baby's due date. The next morning, desperate for normalcy, Olivia drove to the nearest diner. The waitress recognized her instantly. "Eleanor Reed's granddaughter," she said softly, setting down a mug. "Your grandma used to come here. Always sat by the window, same order, same company, that British scientist fella. The bell over the door jingled, and the air shifted. A tall man in his 70s walked in, his silver hair combed neatly, his eyes sharp and knowing. "Miss Reed," he said, stopping at her booth. "Marcus Blackwood. I worked with your grandmother." His voice was calm but heavy with unsaid things. "She told me one day you'd come." From a worn leather satchel, he produced a wooden box and slid it across the table. Inside lay a brass compass, its needles spun wildly, never settling. "It's broken," Olivia said. Marcus smiled faintly. "Or perhaps it points to something other than north." When she asked what, he hesitated. "Places where time bends. Your grandmother and I found one here, deep in your forest." He warned her that others were looking for it, government contractors, private researchers. "Walk away, Miss Reed," he said. "Some things aren't meant to be discovered twice." But when he left, the compass needle steadied for the first time, pointing home. Back at the cabin, Olivia returned to the coded journal. Hours of focus revealed a pattern. Eleanor's cipher substituted shapes for letters, forming partial translations. The decoded lines sent a chill up her spine. March 15th, 1984. Temporal displacement 3.2 seconds localized within 5 meters. June 21st, entered anomaly. Time exists differently. Saw all moments at once. Saw a child with her father's eyes and my chin. Olivia's stomach turned. That description of that child, it was her. She read on. She will inherit the resonance. Her child will bridge the stream. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating her reflection in the window, pale, trembling, and no longer sure which time she truly belonged to. The forest was different in daylight, brighter but restless. Marcus guided Olivia along an overgrown trail marked with rusted tags, each stamped with Eleanor's initials. "Your grandmother mapped this herself," he said. "I helped her once, before she shut me out." After an hour of hiking, the trees opened into a clearing. 12 stone pillars stood in a perfect circle, their surfaces etched with ancient runes, identical to the symbols in Eleanor's journals. Moss grew thick between them, but the air around the circle shimmered faintly, as if refusing to stay still. Marcus's voice dropped to a whisper. "Carbon dating puts them at over 3,000 years old. The anomaly's heart lies beneath." Olivia stepped closer, drawn by something magnetic. The baby stirred inside her, restless. She reached out, and the stone was warm. Images flooded her mind. Eleanor, younger, frantic, taking soil samples as shadows bent unnaturally behind her. Olivia gasped and stumbled back. At the circle's edge lay a half-buried metal box. The lock was coded, but something in her mind whispered a number, 1984. The latch clicked. Inside was a handwritten letter and a small, tablet-like device decades ahead of its time. The letter's message was chilling. "If you found this, the anomaly recognizes you. The device holds 40 years of data. The cycles expand every century. The next convergence, April 26th, protect the child. The others will come." As if on cue, a gust of wind howled through the clearing. Marcus crouched, staring at the device's screen as it flickered to life, displaying concentric circles pulsing like a heartbeat. "It's alive," he murmured. Olivia couldn't tear her gaze from the center of the display, a point of light labeled the Nexus. "What is it?" she whispered. Marcus's reply was barely audible. "The place where all timelines meet." As thunder rumbled overhead, Olivia realized what her grandmother had left her wasn't inheritance. It was responsibility, one that had already begun to awaken. When they returned, the cabin was no longer empty. 2 black SUVs idled outside, their presence sharp and unnatural against the wilderness. Inside, 2 strangers waited, suits, government IDs, polite smiles. "Miss Reed," said the taller one. "I'm Agent Daniels, Department of Energy. This is Agent Chen. Your grandmother's research fell under our jurisdiction. We're here to ensure her data is properly secured." Their voices were too calm, too rehearsed. Marcus bristled, demanding they leave. Daniels ignored him. You've inherited materials of scientific significance. We'd appreciate your cooperation. Chen's gaze lingered on Olivia's stomach. How far along? He asked. 6 months, she said. Due April 26th. The glance he shared with Daniels turned her blood to ice. That night, while Marcus stood watch, Olivia searched the cabin for anything her grandmother might have hidden. In the back of a map frame, she found a folded document, an old government memo, stamped confidential. It referenced subject exposure during 3rd trimester pregnancy and fetal sensitivity to temporal variance fields. Beneath it, in Eleanor's handwriting, they think they can weaponize resonance. Protect her. Olivia's knees went weak. They weren't here for research. They were here for the child. Marcus acted fast. From beneath a loose floorboard, he retrieved a second map, one Eleanor had labeled the Waypoint. It's another cabin, he said. Off-grid. Eleanor built it after the first government breach. We can hide there. They packed what they could. Journals, equipment, the strange device, and slipped away under rain and darkness. As they drove, the compass spun wildly in the passenger seat, its needle finally stopping at a single direction, deeper into the forest. Behind them, headlights flared through the trees. The government was already searching, but ahead, the woods seemed to open, guiding them like memory. The last thing Olivia saw before the forest swallowed them was the faint glow of the Nexus pulsing through the storm, as if calling her home. The second cabin was smaller, hidden beneath towering pines and decades of secrecy. Marcus called it the Waypoint. Inside, everything was immaculate, powered by solar panels filled with neatly labeled equipment and lined with monitors showing live feeds from hidden cameras. Eleanor had been watching the forest for years. On one screen, Olivia saw the agents combing through the main cabin. On another, the clearing of stones shimmered faintly. Then something impossible happened. The camera feed glitched, and Eleanor appeared. Alive, moving through the clearing, untouched by rain, unseen by the agents around her. A temporal echo, Marcus whispered. An imprint from another timeline. On Eleanor's old map, the coordinates of that clearing were circled in red. 44-27N. The same number appeared on the strange device they'd recovered. She's guiding us, Olivia said. The next morning, Marcus and Olivia followed the coordinates to an ancient oak carved with Eleanor's markings. Behind its bark, they found a metal container filled with detailed maps and a sealed envelope labeled "To the Guardian." The letter inside read, "The Nexus is not a place. It's a doorway. It must never be opened by those who seek power. The confluence peaks April 26th. Protect the bridge. Trust your blood." Olivia felt the baby move beneath her palm, stronger than ever. "The bridge," she whispered. She meant the child. Marcus's face paled. The government's not the only one after this. Eleanor warned of others, private factions, people who think time is a resource. As he spoke, the forest trembled, branches swaying though no wind blew. The Nexus was stirring, and somewhere in the distance another presence moved through the trees, following their trail, patient and inevitable. They reached the clearing at dawn. The Nexus towered at its center, a colossal ring of metal and stone, rotating in midair, symbols glowing across its surface like living fire. The air thrummed with energy that made Olivia's skin tingle. The compass in Marcus's hand spun faster, then locked, pointing directly at the Nexus. Olivia's unborn child shifted violently, as if sensing what was to come. Before they could move closer, voices echoed through the trees. The agents had found them. Daniel stepped into the clearing, weapon lowered but ready. "Miss Reed," he called, "you need to come with us." Sarah Chen followed behind, but her expression was different this time, conflicted. "Eleanor entrusted me with something," she said softly, holding out a metallic artifact of concentric rings. "She called it the chronolith. She said it would only respond to you." The rings shimmered as Olivia touched it, aligning perfectly with the Nexus's rotation. The air warped, folding like glass under heat. "It's a key," Marcus realized. Then came the pain. A contraction, sharp and final. Olivia doubled over, gasping. "It's time," she whispered. The agents shouted, the Nexus roared, and the sky cracked open in streaks of light. "She must give birth here," Sarah said urgently. "It's what Eleanor prepared for." As Marcus and Sarah cleared space, the chronolith pulsed in rhythm with Olivia's breathing. Each contraction sent ripples through reality, flashes of other timelines flickering like film reels. Eleanor young, Eleanor old, Eleanor dying and reborn. The air itself began to sing, harmonizing with the cries of a woman and the hum of a machine. The moment Olivia's child entered the world, the Nexus flared in a blinding explosion of light. Her daughter's first cry resonated through the clearing like the toll of a bell, pure, echoing, infinite. Time stilled, and for a single heartbeat, every possible version of existence bowed around her. When the light faded, the Nexus stood silent, its rings frozen mid-turn. The forest exhaled. Olivia held her newborn, a girl with eyes that shimmered like molten gold. The agents lowered their weapons. Marcus wept quietly. Sarah whispered, "She's stable. The Nexus. It's balanced." The air no longer crackled with tension. It felt alive, awake, aware. Days passed. The government sealed off the area, calling it a containment zone. But they never came for Olivia. Even Daniels, shaken, promised silence. "Some things," he said, "are bigger than us." At the waypoint, Olivia recovered, surrounded by Eleanor's journals and the hum of the forest. The chronolith was gone, absorbed into the Nexus, leaving behind only a faint resonance in her daughter's heartbeat. Weeks later, under a blood-orange sunset, Olivia sat on the porch, her baby asleep in her arms. The air smelled of pine and memory. She opened a blank leather journal and began to write, her voice soft but certain. "My dearest Eleanor, you were born at the edge of time, where past and future meet. Your great-grandmother devoted her life to protecting this place, and now it's ours. The Nexus rests, but it's never gone. It watches, it waits, and one day you'll understand why." She closed the book, kissed her daughter's forehead, and whispered, "We are the guardians now." As dusk settled and the forest glowed faintly with the residual shimmer of the anomaly, her words hung in the air, a promise to time itself. If you believe some places remember us, leave a like, share the story, and join me for the next one. Because somewhere out there, another door is waiting to open.